Today's guest is Susan Heinking. She's the Senior Vice President of High Performance and Sustainable Construction at Pepper Construction Group. All right, Susan, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I mean, looking at your background, you have a architectural background. Now you work for a general contractor on the contracting side. So I'm interested to dive into some of that, but especially your sort of in-depth sort of knowledge of the sustainability aspect of it. When did that sort of expertise or focus start for you?
Sustainability actually started in my undergrad in architecture school. I had a professor who was doing our mechanical systems class, and he was really focused on net zero buildings. So this is 20 plus years ago. We're already talking about net zero buildings, and he taught us how to passively design a building that can perform off the grid. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. It added that extra layer of a challenge to kind of the building problem that you were solving. And if you go and look at, what does a sustainable building look like? Um, when you go and kind of look at a portfolio of net zero buildings or sustainable buildings, like you tend to find buildings that are very tied into nature, and health and wellness. And so that really struck a chord with me and just kind of spoke to kind of how I wanted to design in the future and really just have that connection with the earth through the buildings that, we design and we build today.
Yeah. How did that sort of sustainability focus or application in the field look like when you first started your career? What does it look like now?
So when I first started in my career, I was first introduced to the lead rating system from the USGBC while I was in grad school at the University of Oregon. I did not know that that system existed. In one of my studios, we had to design a building to, the lead standard, and we're talking like V 1.0, right? The very first one that was out in the marketplace. And so what I liked about that is it kind of gave you a checklist, right? Essentially, like a to-do list of what are the certain building components that you could plug and play in your building design. And at the end of it, you could kind of say, like, this is a sustainable building. Here are all the features that make up that sustainable building. And so that lead system really helped everyone kind of get on the same page per se of saying, like, how are we defining sustainability? What are we prioritizing with regards to sustainability? And that being um back then, energy efficiency, right? Like, how energy efficient, water efficient can my building be? So focused on the operations of, like, the machine, right? The operations of the building. And over time, that's really evolved to not only to the operations of the building, but the operations of the people inside and how those sustainability features are impacting health and wellness and the performance of humans. And so that's kind of like the broad evolution that I've been seeing since I started in this field of sustainable building. Now, we are looking at more carbon emissions type of a focus and embodied carbon and kind of what actually is like the hidden emissions that are making up our building products and how is that information and that data driving the decisions that the clients essentially have to make at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. I know part of, sort of progressing along this area is change management. What are some misconceptions or roadblocks that are stopping things from going quicker?
I think we really I think we need to pat ourselves on the back a little bit because we have come really far, and there's a lot of regulation and compliance, especially from Europe, that have helped move that ball faster down the field. Um, I think that if we want to move it even faster, nothing moves, the needle like the market. So the more market demand we have for this type of information and this data, and pushing manufacturers to maybe make their products with more sustainability in mind and focus on reducing that carbon footprint within their own production lines and their own operations, that I think is going to help speed up that process.
Yeah, I mean, just the idea that it's possible, right? That, the economics can be in line, the performance can be in line, and it can be healthy and sustainable. Just setting that bar and just putting that as the goal.
Yeah, I think that we used to call it the triple effect, right? Like, are we impacting the planet, the people, and the profits? And it still holds true today, that, that trifecta of sustainability is within reach, and we've been able to prove it out, um, you know, over these, last years of success in the sustainability world.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you started your career in an architectural firm. Now you work at a contractor. Um, how has your role, or I guess skill set, evolved as you've sort of gone between one and the other?
That's a really interesting question because where I am in my career right now, I've literally spent half my career in architecture and now half my career so far in construction. So I have a really, really good 50-50 split of that perspective. Um, Architecture uh, allows us to play, right? There's different concepts. We can test different things. We can have a lot of fun with very little risk attached to it. And so, you could throw sustainability, anything you want with regards to sustainability to the wall, you see what sticks. Okay. And there's a lot of movement there. When you come over to the construction side of things, it's very like pencils to paper. We're solving a problem. This becomes reality. And the play starts to, come down because the risk starts to go up. And so in the construction world with sustainability, it really is seeing that reality come to life and kind of putting it to, to say like, okay, we've got to make these decisions. And here's the data that backs up how your decisions are going to be made. And at the end of the day, it's still up to the client if they're going to choose A or B, which pathway they're going to choose to go down. But as the contractor, we're able to have a little bit more control on what actually gets incorporated. And we have control over the means and methods of how that building is going to be built. And that in that means and methods, when you infuse sustainability in there, you can really see change being made on a different level of our building industry. So, for example, we talk about safety on the job site. Safety, number one priority, everybody needs to go home safe. When you start to tie long-term health effects to safety for those tradespeople with regards to the building products that they're using, sustainability takes on a whole different type of conversation. And now they're getting excited about kind of their part in that sustainable feature of that building. When we talk about curbing curbing idling or reducing emissions on the job site as much as possible, we're talking directly to air pollution. That's when they're starting to, that's when like tradespeople are like, oh, well, I understand that. I can get on board with that. Oh, that's sustainability. And so sustainability on the construction side is just it's defined or I guess associated in different ways. But it's just and that's what I get excited about on the GC side is that you're making like impact on the job site in real time and you're seeing it.
Yeah. I mean, given your background, you must be able to sort of see what comes through like an architectural channel and maybe help package it or sift through to see what you can bring over that makes sense on the GC side. Is that the case?
I mean, within reason. So, famously, when I was an architect, I'm still an architect, but when I was on the architecture side, we'd always say, we don't do means and methods. That's the contractor. Now on the construction side, it's we don't do design. That's the architect. And so within reason there is a bit of a bridge between, going from architecture to construction that yes, I get to help facilitate those conversations to say, hey, let's break this down. And I really rely on data to help me do that because you can't argue with data. So that's kind of how I'm trying to help bridge that sustainability gap or
Yeah.
to at least push it through to actually be part of that means and methods into construction.
Yeah. I mean, give me an example of like how much data, because data can mean different things. Could be like, because the thing is obviously the GC side, there's risk, how much data, what type of data, you know, now I'm sure it's different in every situation, but maybe some examples of what type of data makes the GCs feel comfortable that they're making the right call.
So for GCs, the primary data is going to be around the budget. So how much does it cost? Is there a return on investment, that we should be putting in front of our owners to consider? How, what's the quality of the product? Are the tradespeople aware of this product? Do they like this product? Are they going to want to use this product? Will they warranty this product? So that type of data is super important. Um, on the ownership side, we have what we call a healthy materials database, and so all of the building products that we use that have EPD information, we have in this data set. And we have it organized by division, and it has its, global warming potential numbers associated with the product. And so we can say, like, out of these 10 drywalls, here's the one with the lowest carbon footprint to put in front of like the architects if they were talking about, they've got to specify a certain drywall, or here's the top 3 that have the lowest carbon footprint. That's one piece of the data. And then looking at, is that product available? How does that product perform? Is another set of the data to help make, this one final decision of what should be put in the spec or not.
Yeah, for sure. What sort of trends are you following, or what sort of areas where you can think there's a biggest opportunity for improvement?
For data collection.
Could be data, or the any trends that you're following, because I think the industry. There's many different things that are impacting the industry.
I think one of the trends, and I'm part of several like sustainable peer groups on the construction side. And what we're trying to do right now, one of those groups, is come up with a standard to track emissions on the job site. Um, Depending on how big or little of a GC you are, is going to tell you how much resources you actually have that, you can go accomplish tracking emissions on your job site
Yeah, I
and
mean, is
how
that
well you're doing it.
so a standard, right? Everyone, I guess, currently everyone does it differently.
Currently, some people don't do it at all. So yeah, and so yes, that's correct. We all do it differently, and some don't do it at all. And we're trying to come up with um just a standard. So it's if you want to track emissions on your job site, or if your client wants you to track emissions on your job site, here are the things that you need to be tracking. Here are the units of measure. Here's what you should be asking your tradespeople for, and make sure that that is in your bid docs when you go out to bid.
Yeah.
So they
I
know
mean,
that you want that information.
to develop and successfully implement, let's say you have a magic wand, who would need to be involved to make this happen?
Um, who would to actually create
Groups,
the standard?
associations, individuals, like if you could wave your magic wand because you want the standard to occur, like what pieces? Because I always wonder, like I know that different things are situational, but like what would it take, for it to happen, right? Like how do you start it? How do you launch it? Who do you need to get the buy-in in the specific organizations? Give me some ideas around, possibly how this could take shape.
Sure. So right now, it's in one of our association peer groups, and it's getting developed. Now we have a contractors are grouped by insurance. So there's insurance group for contractors. So the insurance group that we're part of has its own peer sustainability group. We have that one of those insurance representatives in our association group to follow along with the standard that we want to create. So then they can take it back to their insurance group and share it. And then there's other groups that once the standard does get created, we're going to just make available to share. And then you just have to get the word out and put it on a platform that people can go download and utilize. It's really going to be a heavy lift with word of mouth. I think the more the GCs can do things in a similar way with regards to sustainability tracking, the easier it's going to be for the subs. So, like, you know, we share subs or tradespeople with our competitors. That it's all the same. It's all the same people in the room. And so once one sub sees it from one GC and they're seeing the same thing from us, it's going to start to become the standard. And what we're hoping to do is eventually get to the point where, low VOCs have gotten on products where it's like you don't even need to ask for low VOC because everything's inherently low VOC. And that's just going to be repeated hits to the market of these ask and of clients asking for this information and the tracking.
Very cool. Um, Anything else in and around your profession, industry type, or anything that you wanted to share?
Well, I'm really excited that we are where we are with regards to sustainability on the construction side. I think the general contractors are in a really great growth movement right now with regards to sustainability, and looking at different products that we actually have data on to help us make those sustainable decisions. I'm really excited about mass timber, um, becoming more popular around all different types of, building markets. So that's really, really cool to see. And just, you would think of it as like, oh, maybe it's a West Coast thing or an East Coast thing. And I'm sitting in Illinois right now, and we're seeing mass timber pop up all around the Midwest. And so just seeing that connection gets me really excited about the future and what we can still achieve over the next 20 years.
Absolutely. So if someone listens to this podcast and listens to you and says, I want to learn more about this, what sort of places would you send them?
If they want to learn more about sustainability in general, the usgbc.org website is a great resource of information. And then the American Institute of Architects, they have, it's called Material Matters, where you can learn all about material health and environmentally friendly building products that, architects are specifying as well.